Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Irritation, and in this video I'm just going to be telling you all about piercing bumps. Now I'm going to be very clear from the start and say that this video is not about keloids. Most piercing bumps are not keloids. Keloids are like a really rare form of scarring that you generally need to be susceptible to get, and they generally need to be removed with surgery, and that is not what piercing bumps are. Piercing bumps are usually forms of irritation or fluid buildup or something like that. But for some reason, like, the internet has kind of labelled piercing bumps as keloids, and now everyone calls them keloids, and then people come in saying, oh, I've got a keloid, and I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake, no you don't. But to be clear, piercing bumps are not keloids, so please stop calling them that unless you have had it diagnosed as an actual keloid by a medical professional. Okay, now that's over, let me get into the video. A lot of the time, piercing bumps occur because something is irritating your piercing, so your body produces this little bump to protect your piercing from whatever is irritating it. The most straightforward way to get rid of your piercing bump is to find the source of irritation, resolve it, and then give it time to settle. There are several things that could be the source of irritation for your piercing, and I find it's easiest to go through like an elimination process to see what is likely to be the source of irritation for you. So it could be something directly to do with the piercing, for example the angle, the jewellery material, the jewellery size, or the design of it. It could be something more chemical, like you might be using the wrong aftercare information, or you might have a particular face wash that's getting into your nose piercing or something like that. Or it could be something more physical, like, you know, you've slept on it and not realised, or you've snagged it or something like that. So in order to find out what's irritating your piercing, I recommend kind of going through these stages and eliminating each one as you go. So the first thing I would personally check is the angle, because if the angle is wrong and it can't be corrected, then you might as well pull the piercing, let it heal, and start again. So I'd go see both the piercer that pierced you and maybe another reputable piercer if you're not sure how trusty the original one was, and get like some honest opinions on the angle of your piercing if you're not sure yourself. But yeah, for me that would be my first port of call, because there's no point going through the other stages in the list if in the end it's the angle and you need to pull the piercing and kind of heal up and start again. The second thing I would do is make sure your jewellery is made from highly polished implant grade materials such as implant grade titanium, and also make sure it's of a suitable size and design for healing a piercing, because if you do have bumps on your piercing probably is still healing. You want a bit of room for the bumps, but you also don't want it too long that you're catching it and irritating your piercing even more. In terms of jewellery size and design, I personally find that bar is better when there are bumps, because not only can you have a longer bar to accommodate those bumps and relieve any pressure, but if you did that with a ring, the ring would not only have to be bigger, but it would also be clunkier and move more, which may add to the irritation. So yeah, get a bar that's a little bit longer that can accommodate the bumps and isn't putting pressure on your piercing, but also don't get one that's too long that makes it more prone to getting caught or anything like that. You don't need to go overboard, because sometimes longer is not better. Okay, the next thing I'm going to say is probably actually the first thing you should do, but because I was kind of doing it in my order of piercing, chemical, physical, I've kind of gone this way. But yeah, make sure you're using the appropriate aftercare for the piercing you have. If you don't know what it is, let me know what piercing you have and I'll let you know what I recommend to my customers. But yeah, a lot of the time people are just using something that's way too harsh for their piercing, and then, you know, your body is protecting your piercing by forming a bump because you've put like fucking surgical spirit on it. So yeah, make sure you're using the appropriate aftercare for your piercing, and as I said, that's probably the first thing you should check. But yeah, on the topic of that and chemicals and all that kind of stuff, try and make sure you're not getting anything that shouldn't be in your piercing or on your piercing. So like makeup, face wash, like creams, moisturizers, and all of that kind of stuff. Like, you want to just kind of leave the gunk out of it. Like, you can put it on the rest of your face or your body or whatever, but not where your piercing is. Okay, these last points I've got you could have done before as well, like while you're sorting your new jewellery and things like that. But that is basically baby it. Like, try not to sleep on it, be really careful. I do have a tip video on how to like sleep with piercings and ear piercings and that kind of stuff, so I'll link that both on screen and in the description below. It may be that you're doing everything right and you're just sleeping on it without realising, and that's what is causing your piercing to become so irritated and form this ugly bump. The issue with sleeping on your piercing is not only can that irritate the piercing in itself, but it can also change the angle, which can then irritate the piercing more. So yeah, try and avoid that as much as you can, and as I said, check out my video with tips on how to do that. On the subject of like bad angles and piercing bumps, another thing you can do is use no pull piercing discs. So these basically can be used to correct angles and also get rid of piercing bumps. So you basically put them on your piercing and they're like in constant contact with the bump, gently compressing it. And I've seen some great results where it's gone away quite quickly. I've used them myself and I've done a review which is on my channel, and I'll link both on screen and in the description. But they minimised my bumps, but mine didn't fully go. But I also realise I'm quite bump prone, and I have seen customers that I've used the discs on myself have better results. So I'm not sure if that was just a me thing, but like I'm still happy to recommend them. I still use them myself even though I didn't see complete results, because I still see results. They still minimise my bump, and I'd rather have a small bump than a big bump anyway. So yeah, you can check those out, and you can also buy them at wholeheartedlondon.com, so I'll put a link on screen and in the description for that as well if you want to grab some of those. I do recommend also checking out their Instagram if you're not convinced, because that's what I did before I bought any. And I do think it kind of shows you a bit more how it works and how you should be wearing them. I don't think my description was probably great. But yeah, that's something else you can do. You will hear a lot of other methods and like chemicals that you can use to get rid of your piercing bumps, both like online and in piercing studios. But personally, I do not recommend them anymore. I have recommended them in the past. I've used them on myself and I've even made videos on them. However, a lot of these methods are outdated and the chemicals are quite harsh, and if not used correctly, they can end up making things worse or even like causing things like chemical burns in more extreme cases. And let's face it, if you've got a piercing bump, you just want to get rid of it. You might look at like some advice, you might not really research it or anything, you might just do it, and then the consequences could be like more than you anticipated. So those aren't things I'm recommending anymore, but something you can do is make chamomile compresses, and unless you make them too hot and burn yourself, or you're allergic to chamomile, in which case I don't recommend you use these, then there's not really a lot of risk to them, but there's a lot of benefits. You can use these compresses while you're going through like the bump troubleshooting guide, so you can do it while you're like finding the source of that. Hot compresses not only stimulate blood flow in the area, but chamomile also has anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties, and also loads of other health benefits, so you could even like drink the tea when you're done. All you need to do to make a chamomile compress is get pure chamomile tea bags and put one in a clean mug of boiling water, and then leave it to brew for a few minutes, kind of like you would with actual tea. Then fish it out and let it cool down for a little bit, but not so it's cool. Like, you still want it as hot as you can stand it, you just don't want to burn yourself. Once it's at that kind of temperature, which obviously varies from person to person, put it on your piercing and gently compress until it goes cold. So now you know how to find what's irritating your piercing and do chamomile compresses. I'm going to end this video there. If you do have any questions, as always, just drop a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Just so you know, I've got loads of new stock over on wholeheartedlondon.com. This new high quality range not only looks stunning, but it's highly polished, internally threaded, implant grade titanium, so it's great for your piercings too.